At ease, it's your boy Soul Immortal. So yesterday I posted a video on IG of Terrence Howard, right? Now I came across this video yesterday, and let me say that, I'm not a fan of Terrence Howard. I don't like him or dislike him. I can easily say I'm not a fan because, I don't watch Empire or some of the other shows he's in. But I heard this brother talking yesterday, and within just a few seconds, I said, this brother is on some God talk, right? So I posted it on IG and I got some feedback. Some people were saying things like, this is what everybody's talking about with him talking crazy on the red carpet or whatever. Some people said it was gibberish, but a very select few people could identify with what the brother was saying, right? So a handful of brothers reached out to me, in my DMs or on my post and said, hey, can I break this thing down? So let's talk about it. What Terrence Howard was talking about.
I've made some discoveries in my own personal life with the science that, Pythagoras was searching for. I was able to open up the flower of life properly and find the real wave conjugations that we've been looking for 10,000 years. Why would I continue, walking on water for tips when I've got an entire generation to teach a whole new world?
That's a big remark.
Yeah.
What do you intend to do?
Well, let me put it this way. All energy in the universe is expressed in motion. All motion is expressed in waves. All waves are curved. So where does the straight lines come from to make the platonic solids? There are no straight lines. So when I took the flower of life and opened it properly, I found a whole new wave conjugations that expose the in-between spaces. It's the thing that holds us all together.
So the brother starts off by saying, I've made some discoveries in life with the science that Pythagoras was searching for. I was able to open up the flower of life properly and find the real wave conjugations that we've been looking for 10,000 years. Now, brothers, when he was talking about, the flower of life, just cut and dry, he was simply talking about sacred geometry. You know what I'm saying? And the thing with sacred geometry, to me, it is the epitome of what the Kundalini talked about. As far as what's above, is what's below, what's within is what's without. But because what it's talking about is oneness, balance, and complete harmony. And I made the comment that this is where you get once you leave religion, once you leave, thinking like the masses, this is where you end up. And what I mean by that, to really understand sacred geometry, the only way to understand it is to be in line with the oneness. And religion is either going to tilt you to the left or to the right. You have to judge with religion. You have to be in a state of being neutral, of being without judging, of being one with the source to even understand this sacred geometry. And in a nutshell, because we could talk about that for 30 days straight, when he talks about the flower of life, he's talking about, which initially starts with the sphere of awareness. And it simply shows you how expansion takes place. It simply shows you the process of creation. You know what I'm saying? It simply shows you the balance of life. And once you understand that balance, it goes to what that brother was saying. It said, I found the conjugation or whatever. All he was saying was, I found that frequency. I found that frequency that we've been looking for 10,000 years. Now, we can go to church and jump up and get excited. We can go to Jummah and pray 30,000 times a day. We're trying to get that frequency. That's what we're trying to get. But when you go within and just be still and observe the world from a non-judgmental place, brother, there's a frequency that comes with that. And all that brother was saying is like I found that place. Now, when I heard this next part, that's when I knew this brother was in alignment. The brother said, why would I continue walking on water for tips when I've got an entire generation to teach a whole new world? What that brother was saying right there is that like not only am I fully aware that I am a God, I'm also aware that I've always been a God. Because really, when you think about it, you know, your Godship is simply your expression. You expressing yourself is your Godship. And what he's saying is, why should I continue showing the world that I'm a God for tips? In other words, these people have been making, you know, I've been doing this stuff, you know, for the movie industry for years, for crumbs on the table. Like, why should I have to shine to benefit this industry when there's a whole generation that I need to be spreading this world to? And that's when I knew the brother was aligned, because once you get that fire, once you're on that vibration, it's almost impossible to hold it in. It's almost impossible to hold it in. Not only that, but the world's material gain, the need to have more and to expand as far as getting more stuff, that slowly it starts to decline, and you get more fulfillment, you get more satisfaction out of putting this vibration out by sharing this vibration with your brothers and sisters. So that's when I knew the brother was definitely aligned. Then the brother put his boots on, right? Then the brother started getting deep. He says, all energy in the universe is expressed in motion. All motion is expressed in waves. All waves are curves. So where do the straight lines come from to make the platonic solids? There are no straight lines. Now, the brother was saying so many things at one time, right? On one hand, this is what he was saying. If everything in this world is energy, and energy is waves, and waves are curves, then how do we get the physical? How do we get the manifestation of this? How do we get the straight lines? And ultimately, he said, there are no straight lines. In other words, everything that we see is an illusion, right? So that's one thing he was putting out there. On the other end, what this brother was talking about when he talked about, you know, the platonic solids. So when you go from the sphere of awareness, you know, all the way through expansion to the flower of life, right? You know, there are several levels to it. One of those levels is called the Metrodon cube. Now, within the Metrodon cube, it's where the platonic platonic solids are identified, right? Now, when we're talking about the platonic solids, he's talking about tetrahedron, which has a worldly value of fire, the cube, which represents the earth, octahedron, which represents the air, isohedron, which represents water, and dodecahedron, which represents the ether. Now these platonic solids are what bridge the gaps between the dimensions. You know what I'm saying? And I'm trying to keep this condensed, right? But there are several people that have a full awareness of this, right? I'm sure a lot of y'all listen to what's that brother name? Infinite Waters. If you ever listen to Infinite Waters, I realized this brother was on a whole nother level a long time ago. But because if you listen to this brother, he's always talking about, yeah, I'm breathing in this good ass prana. He's talking about the platonic solids. Dodecahedron, you know, it's also known as prana, which represents ether, which represents energy. That's what he's talking about when he says, I'm breathing in this good ass prana. And when that brother says, can I get a hello there? He always says that after he says some fly stuff. He's in full awareness that he's tapped and he's receiving information from another dimension. When that brother says that, he's not even talking to the people watching his videos. He's tapped into something else. So when a brother talked about, you know, talked about the platonic solids, that's what he was talking about. Now, you always hear me talk about my favorite book, which is The Alchemist. You know, now when we're talking about the platonic solids, when we're talking about the Metrodon box, that's what alchemy is. That's where alchemy is generated, what it's generated from. Now in the book, and I don't want to give a spoiler alert for anybody that hasn't read the book, but toward the end, when the old school was talking to Santiago, and they were in that situation where it was life or death, he was telling Santiago like you have to go within, like all these elements of the world, like everything is one. You know, you and the animals, you and the land, the sand, everything is one. And you have to go within to tap in everything. You have control over everything. So that's what that brother was talking about. When you talk about alchemy, that's when you're talking about the Platonic solids. That's when you're talking about, you know, a certain section of the flower of life. Now, this last comment this brother made, I loved it, right? He says, so when I took the flower of life and opened it properly, I found all new wave conjugations that expose the in-between spaces. Now, when you're talking about the Platonic solids, you have to include the element of void, which is the element of nothingness or the element of everything. You know what I'm saying? And it's weird because it just so happened that yesterday, a young lady tagged me on Instagram about a book that I recommended. And that book is The Science of Getting Rich by Wallace Wattles. And you know, I'm telling you, you know, this book was written in 1903, a book that I read a long time ago. But it's a part in this book that talks exactly about what the brother said. And it says, there is a thinking stuff from which all things are made, and which, in its original state, permeates, penetrates, and fills the inner space of the universe. A thought in this substance produces the thing imagined by the thought. That's what brings all this to life. That's what makes the flower of life what it is. It's not about what is. It's also about the void. It's also about what's not. And that's another element why I say religion has a tendency to hinder, but because religion, it tends to pull you away from the what's not for some reason. You know what I'm saying? But this brother was saying it's a thinking stuff. In other words, you know, what Terrence Howard was saying, what brothers that have been saying the exact same thing that he said or saying is that now I'm fully aware that this world is an illusion. You know, I understand who I am in it. I understand what I am in it. I understand the power that I have in it. And I also understand that I have the ability that once I come into full alignment, that I can manipulate it. So once you get in that state, how can you have hate in your heart? Once you get in that state, how can you have fear in your heart? You know, when the Bible talks about the kingdom of heaven, this is what it's talking about. You know, churches tell you that, you know, the kingdom of heaven is a place that you go when you die and all this stuff. That's not what the kingdom of heaven is. The kingdom of heaven is coming to full awareness. The kingdom of heaven is identifying the flower of life. The kingdom of heaven is finding full balance in this realm of existence. And brother, I'm telling you, I'm glad to see this brother coming to this awakening. Now, I'll tell you another brother that had the exact same experience. And if I'm lying, I'm dying. Go and just do some research on Jim Carrey. Jim Carrey went through this same thing a few years ago. They interviewed Jim Carrey on the red carpet, and he had a moment just like this. And ever since then, this brother just been speaking this fifth dimensional stuff. And the critics are all, you know, making fun of him, but a small sector of people are fully aware of what he's talking about. The brother is woke. The brother is fully aware. And that's the goal that we all should strive to be at. You know what I'm saying? I love it. The Awakening. It's your boy Soul Immortal. And I'm out.
Eddie!